Hello, everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live Asia Pacific. My name is Flynn, and I'm the host for today. And I'm delighted to welcome back Anika Aggarwal, brand strategist and designer. I have one job, Anika, and that is to do the intro and do the outro. And I managed to stumble. I'm very sorry, but welcome back to the professional, club that we've got going on here at Adobe Live.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Stumbling my words a little bit, but I am excited to have you back. I think the last time we did a live stream, which was the first time we've done a live stream all year, which is crazy, wasn't that long ago. And that was really interesting. We went through Adobe Express stuff, which you're an expert in, but also some Firefly and generative stuff as well, which is obviously what a lot of people are talking about, want to learn how they can use AI as a partner in their creativity, right? And that was really, really interesting. And I know I'm very excited about today. I'm going to try not to ask too many questions, but I do have lots of questions about today. So I'm your target audience. So thank you so much for
I
coming
love
on.
that. I love that. No, thank you so much for having me. Hi, if you haven't met me before, my name is Anika. I am a brand strategist, as you so rightly said. I do also love doing social media for other people, like small businesses around me. I'm based in Canada, so it's gonna be a good stream because I'm now in baseball season. I also love using AI as my creative partner, which is exactly what we're doing today. So we're using ChatGPT and Claude because now Adobe for Creativity is available in Claude. So I can prompt Claude to batch edit my photos, to resize my videos for socials, and also find a template to create a design right from the app. So I'm really excited to get into it. We're going to explore ChatGPT and then Express, which is Adobe Express, and then also Claude. So yeah, some fun stuff today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't jumped on the Claude bandwagon yet, so I'm feeling a little bit behind. So yeah, here we go. So let's see. Let's see how we go.
Let's get into it.
Nervous.
Yeah. Um that's a lot of yeah, no pressure at all.
No
I have
pressure. Yeah, just
no
expert.
questions.
Anika the expert. Yeah, let's go.
So I am in ChatGPT, which is where I will start from. And today I am going to prompt Adobe Express. I did add my custom GPT in here. So if you've never added Express, you can go on to GPT's on the left hand side navigation panel and explore, which is where you can write Adobe Express. I don't know why it's taking so long, but Adobe Express GPT by adobe.com is what you want. And once you click on it, you can click on Start Chat, which will start a chat within Adobe Express GPT. That's one way of doing it. Or it gives you some prompts here which says make a flyer to promote my yoga studio or create a TikTok, which kind of gives you a look and feel of how you can prompt the Adobe Express GPT.
Yeah.
You can do that. I have done that a bunch. So I actually can also prompt it by saying add Adobe Express, which does the same exact thing. So think of it as your partner within ChatGPT. So I am asking Adobe Express to find me an Instagram um, feed post, I want to say. So 1080 by 1350 pixels for a risograph zine workshop that I may or may not hold. I'm not saying who's doing it, but I made a brand for it as well. So I'm going to say Foxtail Print Design Studio. I think just adding more information here is always good because the more you add how you want your template, do you want a paper texture on it? Do you want colors in it? What colors you want? What's the font or the brand feel you're going for? Do you want it to be friendly? Do you want it to be um nice? Do you want it to be playful? Do you want it to be sans serif fonts? All of that information, if you feed it here in the first step, it's going to learn from it and tell you the exact output. With that said, I do have some copy here for some of the experiments that I was doing here. So, in the interest of time, I'm going to paste that, but talk about what I wrote. So, I said I wanted to use templates that have a hand drawn print studio vibe, have a white paper texture background, which immediately says, oh, let me look for white paper background. So ChatGPT in collaboration with Adobe Express will go into Adobe Express templates and find those templates with these specific items. Look up templates that have paper texture elements or hand-drawn elements. I reiterate that here. Make sure it has generous white space because I don't want my design to be crowded. So I say, I need negative space, I need white space. I actually want to say negative space here instead of white space. Paper feeling background, and you hit send. So now ChatGPT integrated the Adobe Express GPT within ChatGPT will find those templates for you. And right within
Right.
here, I get an output. It says, I found a gallery of Express templates that fit the risograph zine workshop direction, hand-drawn, print studio feeling, paper texture, and generous white space. You can do all of these things right from ChatGPT. So if you want to get started and look for something really quick, you can find the template here, fill the text, replace the background. So with this one, you can essentially pick any of these templates here. And if you don't like any of these templates, I can honestly just say, show me some more similar templates, but that are more playful and fun. Let's see what comes up. But this
Cool.
essentially goes in back to Adobe Express, back to the drawing board, and it's like, oh, I actually want something else. So let me look up more templates that are playful and
Mm.
fun. Now, this is very subjective because what is playful? What is fun? There is no detail here. So it went in and whatever information was available, it thought this was playful and fun.
I
This was
wonder why
playful
it
and
thought that
fun.
was more playful. It looks that first set looked less playful even.
Yes,
So you're right. It's
yes.
subjective. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is very subjective. I think the more you train it to be what you think is playful in your context is
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
need to do. Because
yeah.
there was no information here about what I think is playful or what brand I'm working with thinks playful is or what the fonts were. There was no information, and so it went with the default. Again, you can still go ahead and add your personalized text like workshop name, date, price, location, etc. You can replace the image by providing a description of the new image. So, for instance, I say, I select this one, for instance. You can either click on personalize. It is also a premium feature. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that you need to have an Adobe account for all this to work. So you get more credits. You can do both ways. You can either do it within here if you don't want to make in further changes using your Adobe Express account, which doesn't need you to have an account. If you want to use it, if you want to use Adobe Express, you need to create just an Adobe login for the free version. And if you want to use premium features like this, you need to have a premium subscription, obviously. Let me hit escape and select actually one of these. I think I'm gonna scroll back up if it's gonna let me. Yeah, here we go. I do like this one, honestly. But
Mm.
I do think because we're doing like a reso thing, I don't want that much detail. And I'm emulating like a reso print workshop. And it's funny that it's saying reso printing workshops on this one. So I think I'm gonna go
Right.
with this one just because it already says it. It's a sign, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
and the way that you select a template is just by clicking, since this is like a grid structure, once I select this template here, I click on it, and now I can prompt the agent to start editing this design. So fill text with, I want to say, make a zine with us instead of reso printing, add, or replace registrations now open with maybe, I want to say, $65. Um, I'm trying to find my info. Supplies and tea provided. Let's say coffee, not tea. All right. And then I'm going to hit enter just to see what happens. I did have that one selected here from the grid. And then I asked it to fill the text with this and replace. I didn't say make the headline bigger. I didn't say replace the headline with make a zine with us. So let's see what's going to happen because I totally forgot to do that. I just think that it's going to do it on its own.
So this originally, just to be clear, this originally is basically showing you like real templates that are being created. So they're not generating the templates, they're going through the catalog of templates and choosing that. But now we're asking it to alter the templates. It
Yes,
is
that's exactly right.
okay, cool.
That's so interesting that it did that. Probably because I had that one selected in this one. So this was my second result, and I probably had that selected. So it went ahead and changed the text in that one. But this actually tells us that it did work. I am gonna clarify and yes, confirm that yes, it goes on to Adobe Express because this is the Adobe Express GPT. It goes on to see the templates already built in the app. So they are real templates, they're not AI generated. They're real templates created by real designers, had by Adobe to create all of these templates for everyone to use. Some of them are free, some of them are premium, which have a crown icon even here. Once you're happy with the templates that you have, I think I like this one. I think I want to personalize this one, but I'm not sure why it didn't do that. So let me select um interesting. Hold on. Let's see. Let me go back and select the first one again and see if it does it. All right. Hopefully it'll do it this time. But I think I had two selected, so it override my selection and did the last one that I selected in the chat. So let's see what happens. So yeah, as it does it, ChatGPT also tells you how you can further customize it. So you can search your design for more design templates, which we already did when we asked for more fun and playful things. You can also go in and replace an existing image by providing a description. So let's say, for instance, I didn't like the flower that was in the template that I selected. I could ask for tulips or whatever, favorite flowers there, or whatever image you wanted. If you wanted to change the background color, you could do that as well, and then animate the design. I do see an error here, so I'm going to see what happened. Adobe Express couldn't process the text fill request this time. It may be because the instruction is too specific for the template's existing text fields. Try opening the selected template and applying the text directly. That's what happens when you don't provide the right information or where to add that information. I think what I want to do, because I kind of think it messed up with two selections, what I want to do is essentially copy my first prompt and start a new chat. Let's see if that helps us. And honestly, the fact that it could fetch all these templates so quickly for me is so good. Oh, I don't think it did Adobe Express. Sorry, I couldn't tag Adobe Express in that message, so it didn't actually
Oh, it
take
like
Adobe
pasted
Express.
as not
Yeah,
formatted at
yeah,
Adobe Express. It didn't count it as typing at because
yeah,
you'd type out the at. That's funny.
yeah, yeah. But
It's like,
let's
what? What are you
prompt it
talking
again.
about?
Okay. Um, okay, let's look for more specific craft workshop templates for a social post. Let's see what comes up now.
Yeah.
Okay, I like
More
this one.
crafty kind of looking things.
Yeah. So as detailed as you can get, the more detail you add, the better result you will get. Image generation, template finding, or designing from a template. So this is what we're doing here. We're designing from a template. I do like this one. So I'm going to click that and then type in my prompt here, which says, change the headline text to make a zine with us. In this case, the headline text is art and craft class. So I assumed that it would change it to that. Replace the text. In this case, it would be more details with $65 all supplies provided. I'm just going to say that and see what comes up. Hopefully it works this time. Let's find out.
Let's see.
Okay. It's doing its thing. At least we're not getting the beach ball spinning icon, right? We don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's one of the good things is like you could do this on a toaster. Like all the thinking is happening in
Yeah.
the cloud. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to have, I mean, you could do it on your phone. You can do it on any device that has an internet connection, which
Yep.
I think is the way lots of things seem to be going. Like a lot of the thinking is happening in a server somewhere, um,
Yep.
which is cool. Magazine with us.
Cool.
Nice.
It did the edit. So it changes the headline. It changed the headline text to that. And it also changed the bottom more details to $65, all supplies provided. None of the text is wonky. No other elements were touched. It has a paper texture. I don't know. I don't know if it has the reso feel that I was going for or the colors that I was going for, but that's where Adobe Express comes in. You can also go ahead and change the background color if you wanted. I don't think it's gonna make a lot of change in this one because it has a paper texture as a background. So why don't we click on this arrow and open it up in Adobe Express? So what I did was clicked on this button right here in this UI and it says open in Adobe Express. That took me to this design, opened in Adobe Express, and AI Assistant beta turned on in Express. I don't want to use that. I think I want to make changes by hand. So you can go in here and do all of the changes. The first thing that I want to do is resize this post. So the thing that I want to showcase here is AI resize within Adobe Express, which honestly is pretty cool. So if I click on duplicate and resize, it's gonna make three variations of the design that I have on screen. So this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. It learns contextually from the information that I had. So the first one was formatted very differently. It didn't really fit the thing I asked it for. But the second one actually learned from the first one. Like, oh, we actually want paper texture edge to edge. So maybe this one looks better for me. The third one has a slight variation. I think I like this one the best for our purposes. I'm going to click keep. And now we have two versions, the one that we had already and the second one, which is an AI resize version of that. While I do really like this, you can always go in and make a bunch of changes in here. There's paper texture layer, there's like um various different elements in here that you want. And once you're happy with that, you can probably make something like this. So I created this from a starting place in ChatGPT, which looked whatever. I don't even remember what it looked like, but I came in here and I was like, you know what? Actually, maybe I want to change the font of this. So I used one of the Adobe fonts. I used opacity and blend modes here, and then I added my own information. So yeah, you can start from a template and think of a starting point where you land in Adobe Express, and then you can go on and make all sorts of changes that you wanted. So I think that's the fun bit where ChatGPT comes in, and you don't even have to have an Adobe Express account because if I didn't have an Adobe Express account, I would actually just say, can download, or maybe I can say animate design. Maybe I just wanted it to straight be exportable. I would just go
Yeah.
back to ChatGPT and say animate design. If I didn't want any changes at all, it would give me options here to add some basic animation to the design. So it'll give me options right over here once it loads. And then I can easily export that and post it, send it to my friends, or wherever I wanted to post it, be it Instagram, you're on the go, you're on the phone, you instantly download that and you can post it on Instagram. You don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So here's the first one.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Here's the second
animating
one.
in. Or is it giving you a couple of options down the bottom to choose from?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool.
These are some of the animate all options that you see within Adobe Express that are also available here. So if you hover on them, this is bottom up. This is slide in from left. This is, I think, fade in, or this one's like fade in and slide up. So that's really nice. And then I think the ones that you select, let's say we select the first one, and then download the selected animation. I don't know what this will do. I've never tried this before. So we'll find out.
Let's see.
I can't download the animation directly from here. Oh,
Okay, so you have
that's
to go
interesting.
into Express to get it.
Export this MP4 for me here.
Hmm,
Sometimes
interesting.
you really need to know what kind of prompts you need to give.
Yeah.
And then that works. Okay, cool. So it says Adobe Express doesn't have a specific automated tool for this request yet, but you can bring this idea to life directly in the editor. So you do need to go to Express and then find that out. What I'm going to do is actually copy this link and then I'm going to open up a new incognito window just to see what happens if I don't have a login. Oh, so you open up, ideally it would look like this and it would ask you to log in, and that's where you
Yeah.
can download all the things. And you can continue with Google, easy sign in option, and you can just download it with a free account. So this would open up and then you would go on download and download whatever file you want. In that case, because it was animated, there would be a MP4 option in here as well. So if I go back to my ChatGPT, click on this link, it's going to open up this animated file in a second here. And now if I click on download, sorry, too impatient. It's loading. Did it load? Yeah, it loaded. And
Yeah.
then now I can click on download where the file format is automatically contextually changed to MP4 and also GIF, which is really cool. I can download a high quality here as well. So just like that, I have a GIF ready to go. I'm gonna cancel download for this one just because yeah, pretty cool.
It's
I
pretty
think this
cool.
is a great yeah. Would you use ChatGPT or Claude? Because I think both are really good. And for
Mm.
Claude, why don't we jump into how to use it for our use
Okay, let's have a
case?
look. It's an interesting question. I think that for me, I'm an old dog. Like it is hard to change your approach to creating anything. Like it's hard
Yeah,
even I think the transition from I I write a lot. Like I've been writing like emails and writing things for a very, very long time. So it's taken me quite a while through the AI kind of
yeah,
revelation of changing it to starting with a template and then working through it and trying to write that way, although it's faster and just starting to get there, I think now. With design,
mhm,
I still kind of want to start from blank a lot of the time.
yeah,
So it is interesting. I'm not quite there yet to asking a chatbot to design for me just yet, but I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I sound like a old man yelling at Cloud. You know what I mean? Old man yelling at
You know what
Claude.
it
There we
is?
go.
I
That's the
think
meme.
that is so funny. I would say the thing and the nuance here is that you're not asking ChatGPT or Claude to design for you because you're basically making your life faster by automating the process of finding that template. So the part where
Totally.
you would go to Adobe Express and finding that template manually, that's the
Mm,
step we're taking away by asking these tools to help us find those quicker. So
yes.
that's what we did. We found those templates quicker because those were not AI generated and we didn't. So it's like basically starting from a template instead of um starting from a blank page. But yeah, that's definitely a personal preference. I think I also
Mm,
like that, but I also sometimes like a template, especially when I'm working with a client that has a very specific taste and they do like specific things or it's like a corporate brand.
mm.
They would still go back to their old design. You know how it is, like a printing brand who like
Yeah.
does printers and they would like design things that are like 20 years ago. The design principles are there, but it's just not current in the sense of I don't know how to explain it, but I hope you get the idea.
I think it's just yeah, I mean, I work with quite a few other creatives, and I'm definitely seeing people go to, their, AI chat of choice, and Claude is the one
Mhm.
that's having its, having its heyday at the moment, and as the first thing they do for any project. And I think that's gonna happen more and more and more.
Yeah.
And I can see the benefit of it sort of happening. So this is very prevalent to like I think us as creatives, we really need to wrap our heads around it, and people that people like me need to pay attention because maybe this is what we're all going to be doing. Maybe this would be the process for the future.
Yeah. With that said, I do want to point out that the page that I have opened up is essentially very, very helpful. This will all be in the stream description. The first one here is just some helpful prompts for you. So if you wanted to create a party invitation, some of these things is actually work with ChatGPT, Copilot, and more. I don't know specifically what those apps are, but this definitely works in ChatGPT. I this is very similar to what we demoed earlier. So if you wanted to create a party invitation, a holiday card, a social post, something like this would be the place to go and you could add these prompts and experiment with it on your own. As I said, the more detail you add, the better results you get. But now jumping on to Claude because we all know we love Claude. And now Adobe for Creativity is in Claude. So you can actually use a Claude account to create all the like you can access Adobe apps within Claude, which is really nice. So you can be on a free Pro Max team or an enterprise account, and then you need an Adobe account for full functionality, higher limits, and saved work across sessions. What this
Mm.
means is that whatever work you will do within Claude, and if you have an Adobe account, it'll sync up with your Creative Cloud, and then you can go back to those files easier. The steps here to connect it to your Adobe account are slightly more nuanced than what we saw in ChatGPT. So why don't we go to Claude and see what it looks like? I am in the co-work section, but you can be in chat. I am on the pro plan, but you can do this with the free plan as well. The first step that you would do, this is what your interface would look like when you run up the Claude desktop app. You can go on to your customize button here on the left navigation panel, and you see skills and connectors. With going back to my help page, which will also be in the screen description, it gives you exactly the things that you have to do. So the connector is basically a way for you to sync up your Adobe account with Claude. So you already sign into your Claude and you go into add a connector for your Claude desktop app. Open Claude, add Claude.ai or your desktop app. I prefer the desktop app, makes my life easy. In the left sidebar, click Customize, select the Connectors tab, and browse the connectors. So we are in the Connectors tab, and then you browse. I already have that selected here, but I can click on the plus button, click on Browse Connectors. There are various partners with Anthropic. We are specifically looking for Adobe for creativity right over here. That's where you would, since this was already connected, I'm going to disconnect it just for now. And this is what it would look like if you had never used it and never connected it. So I look it up and then I click on connect. It's going to ask me to log in. I should probably bring it to, oh, here we go. Um, and that's how simple it was. So it connected my Adobe for Creativity. And now you can change in whatever preferences you wanted. I do want it to be always needs approval because I don't think I want any of the actions to happen on its own for now. So every time I have Claude open, I can change these prompt settings. It should ask me every time it gives me whatever things that I'm trying it making it do.
Right.
So you can
Right.
change that permission setting here. So always allow means that this will happen, whatever prompt you given, it will go back, do whatever task you asked it to do, and then come back to you with the result. With needs approval, it will always prompt you in the chat that you have, asking it questions to do things for you. It will prompt it and ask you whether or not you want it to do things. And once you click on allow, that's only when it's going to be going there. So it's not invasive at all if you do needs approval.
Okay.
Now, the next step is going into skills. A skill file is essentially pre written instructions where you can go in and ask Claude with this particular skill name in a chat to go in and do things for you. So you don't need to write in all the instructions manually. These are things that are provided either by the creative tool that you're using or you create them yourself, right? So Adobe has actually done a really good job. I'm going to open up that help page again where they've made a GitHub page, which will also be in the stream description, and made all of these skills. So we have a very like a few skills here. Batch edit photos, which we can do using Photoshop Web, but within Claude. So it's using various tools. I think it also has access to Lightroom. I'm not really 100% on that, but it does do batch edit. So I can add this skill the way, and then you can add social variations where you would take one design and make social variations of it for various channels, whatever channels you ask Instagram, TikTok, Instagram Reel, YouTube thumbnail, XYZ, whatever social variation you want, LinkedIn banner. And then you can design from template, which is actually what we saw in ChatGPT. With this, you also have a quick cut option, which actually I haven't experimented with, which would be really fun. Then there's resize photos and videos also for socials and a retouch portrait option. So the way that you would add skill, a lot of information, but let's rewind a little bit. We added a connector, which was basically logging into your Claude, like connecting your Adobe and Claude account. So we did that. First step done and dusted. The second step, it is adding instructions for you to make your life easy. Those instructions come up in the form of a markdown file, which is basically a file easier for Claude to read, which is called a skill file. This skill file is created right here, which you can find on the Adobe GitHub. These can be batch edit photos, social variations, and whatever, like whichever one you want. I personally prefer having all of them. So I clicked into this. There's a skill.md file, which is a markdown file. And you want to download the raw file here, which downloads the scale file in your downloads file. You can obviously go in here and learn more about it. So it says apply consistent photo adjustment across a set of images so they look like they were edited together. Use the skill whenever the user says, make my photos look cohesive. Give all these the same style. So these are sample prompts. So if I would type this in chat, it would automatically know which skill to check for and then it would make those photos look cohesive using
Right.
this skill. So let me hop back into Claude and show you how you can add that. As you can see, it's already in here somewhere, batch edit photos. But you would go into, again, your customize tab. I'm right over here. So if I'm on the home page, I go to customize, I go to skills, and then I go to plus, then I go to create skill, and we downloaded a file. So we're now uploading it to Claude. And this is where you drag and drop that file. And that's going to bring up batch edit photos right over here, which we have. So this is what it looks
Right.
like.
You
This
already
is the
have it.
setup.
Okay.
Once you do it, you don't have to ever do it again unless you create a new account. So now, why don't we jump into a new chat? Let's actually do a co-work chat. I just like that better. So I'm gonna say, um,
What's a co-work chat? What's the difference?
so with co-work, I can actually make scheduled tasks and it just helps me do automated tasks easier.
Okay.
Um, I just like that interface better, but we can actually stay here. I actually don't mind that
Oh no, it's up to
because
you. I
it's
just
easier
didn't
to
know the
showcase.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go to chat. It says type slash for skills. This will show me all the skills that I have within my Claude account. So all of these skills that we just saw on GitHub, I have them right over here. So I don't even have to say add Adobe Express or anything like that that we did. But you can also see that the Adobe for Creativity connector is in here. And if you go on skills, you can see all the skills that I have, right? So let's say I want to do batch edit photos and I want to say make these photos look cohesive and add a 20% small grain on it. And then I have a bunch of headshot images of me
Hmm.
and I'm just going to grab them here. So these are some headshots that I actually created in Firefly boards using my real image, and I was just experimenting with Nano Banana and Firefly. So I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, let me see how this would look like when I give it some image. And then you can change the model, but I'm just going to use Sonnet 4.6 because it's easier and it takes up less usage. So I have that skill connected, and then I say what I want to do, and I hit enter. Now it's going to take
Okay.
its time and ask me and prompt me to do like allow. You know how we were talking about permissions earlier? Now,
Mm.
this is where it's going to ask me whether or not I want it to work on my account. So,
Right.
yeah, very cool.
Okay. And if you, before when you were doing the permissions thing, if you had that selected to just do whatever you want whenever you want, it would just do it and show you the
Yes.
result without asking you,
Yep.
without, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So it viewed two files, which is interesting. And now here's the prompt. Claude wants to use Adobe Mandatory Init from Adobe for Creativity. I want to say allow once. You can also click always allow if you want that to happen. In
And
this
would that
case, I
switch
just
the
want to
skill in
showcase.
the other thing like
Yes.
automatically to, yeah, okay.
And so it says, got 10 photos. Based on what you said, I'll apply cohesive and warm look, autotone and balance treatment, tweaks, film grain at 20% intensity, no crop, keep original formatting. And so it says the photos span two settings, indoor studio and outdoor field. So I'll normalize them with autotone first to bring them together before adding the grain. Let me confirm one remaining question. So I want to pick a base of the cohesive style. Am I going for auto? Am I going for warm and golden? Am I going bright and airy, moody and cinematic? It gives you all these options within the UI, which are
Mm.
really nice. So I'm going to go moody and cinematic. I want dramatic, contrasty, desaturated, just because I want to see what happens when all of these are done and then the green is added. So it's going to reiterate what I gave it. And then it says, let me upload all 10 photos and run a before and after preview on the first one before launching the full batch. So once you're happy with what you're doing, it tells you, here's the first one. Do you want this look across the board? And I think it's going to use Lightroom for this purpose. And it's going to use the one photo, edit it for you, and then ask you if you want to apply all. You apply to all, and you're good to go. All right, let's see. The files are uploading right now. Okay. Oh, it's going to ask me 10 times because it's going to do it for every photo.
It wants you to click always allow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's training you.
Yeah.
Do we know what the Claude logo is? It's a little star that's animating.
I do not know what that is. Do you?
I know I could Google it, but I'm just curious. I'm trying to think of what it might.
No, I do not know. I wish I could open a new chat, honestly, because I want to showcase a different skill, but it's gonna be if I do that, this is not gonna work because I wanted to run in parallel. Unless I do it on Claude desktop, but that'll be a little confusing.
It's
So
okay. It
let's
must
just
be
go with
almost
one.
10.
Yes. We're almost there.
And these skills and this integration only came out very recently. So I assume, as with always these things, this is a bit of a test to see we use it, does it work well, sort out
Yeah.
bugs, and then I would imagine it won't be long until there's another batch of skills that are launched as well. So I often, often you see that sort of thing. It's like, well, it's not that useful, but actually, it's a bit like, well, let's see where we
Yeah.
end up by the end of the year. Like I'm sure that it starts out with kind of the bare minimum. It's like an alpha test, beta test sort of thing. And then suddenly you might be able to type in, hey, while I'm asleep, can you like grab everything off this 10 terabyte hard drive and
Yep.
reorganize everything and spit it back out and, you know,
Yep.
remove
Yeah.
duplicates
That's
and do this or, edit the photos so that they're, optimized for web, save a bunch for print, whatever. Like, so it's very interesting. Like you can see the potential for these agents and for this sort of stuff happening to save us all a lot of
tons,
time.
tons of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm so interested to see what happens here. I think with the advancements with like just having this integration right here is so fascinating to me because having this functionality within here, I would have never imagined that this last year, like having this within Claude. Like
Right.
I didn't think I could add like batch edit photos within Claude. Maybe not last year, like 2 years ago, I didn't think I could do that, and
Yeah.
now we can, and now you can like resize photos, now you can design from a template. So I think every single day there's a new tool coming out, and every like you just have to be on top of it. And I
Yeah.
love that these are tools that we already use, so it's not like we're using something new, but now you're using it together, which is basically the point of this collaboration, which I really love.
Mm. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like, this it's always an interesting transition of we understand how to edit photos and crop photos and remove backgrounds and what a Gaussian blur is and what gray
Hmm.
is and how a drop shadow should work. It'd be interesting for those that might not have those hands-on experiences with something like Photoshop to
Yeah.
then like learn how to prompt. It just reminds me of like skeuomorphism. Do you remember when iPhones first
Yeah.
came out and all the
Yeah.
app icons looked like a thing because they had to, and then we so got used to it that they can basically be any icons now. Like it doesn't have to be a camera for the camera necessarily. Like it doesn't have to be super super literal anymore. It always reminds me of that, like the beginnings of something, and it will evolve, but it actually has to be um yeah, grounded in some sort of truth at the beginning.
Yeah, it's everything is just changing so quickly. I think there's always that part where you're transitioning and you still have to just stick with it for a little while longer. And then once you do, and you're like over the bridge, and you're like, oh, this wasn't that hard after all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there were some things that happened here. It There was a proxy block which wasn't letting my images that I selected earlier to be uploaded to edit. So it said, why don't I open the file picker for you here and you can just drag and drop them within my UI? And I'm like, oh, cool, let's do that. And then now it's saying, okay, now let's do it. And then we're going to do photo one. So it took a little bit of time, and these nuances take, because we're doing it for the first time, I disconnected. I think that's what causing it to like run it for the first time. So this is what you would see if you run it for the first time.
Right. Okay, I see.
And then since I set it to all like not always allow, it's gonna prompt me every single time. It does take a bit of time for you to be able to do it, because if I had always allow on, I would just be on about my life doing other things and running a different chat and doing other tasks and let it be automated, which is kind of nice. But it
Yeah.
just might be a personal preference to be like, oh, I don't want it to always be allowed to access a lot of the things on my
Yeah.
machine, on my cloud, on my wherever storage. If you're working with a client, it's always like one of those things. So I would just be mindful about what settings you would want to use.
Yep, I think that's a really good point. There is something really nice, particularly when you're a small business owner or a freelancer or something like that, where time is like so critical that it is really nice when you're doing something that's time consuming that you can automate, like, or
Yeah.
something like, exporting a video or uploading a video or something that's like really big, or maybe you're rendering a video. Because back in the day, that used to stop your computer. You couldn't do anything else, and depending on the power of your computer, sometimes you can just do it in the background while you do other stuff. But it's quite
Yeah.
good for time management to be able to have something happening in the background. It's a little bit like working from home. You're like, if I do a load of washing now and I'll hang it up later, the work's done by the end of the day, you kind of,
Yeah.
all you have to do is make sure you put everything in at the beginning of the day, and then you're at
Basically.
work, and then the washing machine's working for you, or maybe the dishwasher or something like that. And then maybe now you have a AI assistant batch editing your
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah. No, I want to showcase the first two images that were
Okay.
done. So here's a before. This was the first image, and here's an after. So here's the before, here's the after. I
Oh
didn't make
yeah.
any
Okay.
changes at all. And I think it did zoom in slightly.
I think it lens corrected.
It did lens correct. It did do that.
It
You're right
but it
about
doesn't.
that.
I know that it was AI, but maybe that in the original prompt it wanted to make it look real, so it gave it a lens. Like,
Yes.
that feels like what it's trying to
Yes.
do.
Yes, it is doing that. It
Yeah.
is doing lens correction. There's some straightening that happened in this one, but it did add the grain like we asked it to.
Yep.
Maybe it's too much for my liking. Maybe I would decrease that if I was editing, but I can still go back and change that within here. So if I said looks great, it would run it to all 10 images. If I wanted to adjust settings, I would say adjust settings, and then say reduce the grain to 10%. It's doing its thing. No problem. Let's dial in exactly the look you want. So it's going to ask you and prompt you the questions that you would want. So now in this case, I would say moody and cinematic. I want to say fine tune. So these are the options that weren't shown to me earlier, but now they are because I didn't like the results that were ours. Now it intuitively asks me what are the things you actually want to do. So I'm going to say um, lift dark shadows, recover blown highlights. I'm going to say adjust exposure and then tune bright areas. I'm gonna next say no crop. I did not say reduce grain again, but that's
Mm.
fine. That's totally fine. Reduce 10 grain and run all 10. Reduce grain to 10% intensity and run all 10 images. Ah. Okay, and once it does that, I think I want to do always allow for this one. Um, Once it does that, it's going to generate a Firefly board, which is really nice because then I can see all those 10 images together, which is really, really
Yeah.
cool.
That's cool.
Now, let's start a new chat while it's doing that, and I'm going to showcase one more skill. So I actually want to do, um, which one should we do? I think we should do design from template just to showcase the contrast between how it was in ChatGPT and how you can do the same thing. So if your personal preference is ChatGPT or if your personal preference is Claude, you can do the same exact thing in Claude. Like I use Claude more than ChatGPT on an everyday basis. So I would go into Claude, say, use the skill Adobe Design from template and find an Instagram feed post for a risograph zine workshop. It's the same exact prompt that we used in ChatGPT and I want to hit enter and see what happens in this one. Okay, it's contemplating. Stand by.
Thinking about it.
Yep, we're working on it. Meanwhile, let's go back to our batch edit. Oh, what happened? Did something happen? Check your Adobe Connector. It looks like Adobe Connector isn't authorizing uploads right now. Oh, that's not
That's
true.
new. Mm.
That is new. Okay, go to Claude settings, connectors, and reconnect the connector. Okay, I can't really do that because I'm doing something else right now.
It might have been because you showed us how to disconnect and reconnect, so it's refreshed
Might
everything,
be.
or might have thrown things
It
out a little bit there.
might have been thing. Yeah. Um. Okay. That's interesting. And that is so funny because I literally clicked on always allow right before I did that. And as soon as I did that, it stopped working.
Hmm.
Okay. Is it doing it? No, it's not.
It's thinking, or is it not?
It's thinking. I did a different one, but it just like it's not in my recent chats anymore. I did not this one, but a different one. I did a new chat about creating a design from a design template, and it's just not, there's no chat like that anymore. So why don't we try that again? Let's try design from template, and then I'm gonna say paste, and then I'm gonna run it, see what happens. And this time I'm gonna stay in this chat. Okay, working. It takes a little bit of time, so I apologize for the no lack of things happening.
Well, it's new. I mean, I
Okay.
guess we're demoing new like AI integration stuff with multiple parties. I'm not surprised that there's going to be bugs, and I think it'll be like that, for quite a long time. I remember trying to get Midjourney to work in Discord at the beginning of all this, like
Yeah,
and everything. Um,
here we go.
like the Express
We have
integration seemed to be working really well.
it looks so good. I think
Mm.
I personally prefer this UI. Think it looks really good. It's easier to click on things, and it's the exact same template. We picked on that one, and it also shows me an option to open and
Mm.
the same grid-like structure. And then it says, here are the templates I found and some information. And then these are the things that you do from right here. So very simple, similar to the things that we could do with ChatGPT, but this is what it looked like. So you would do the same exact thing of filling in the text, studio name, workshop title, whatever entries, whatever things you want to add. So let's say, um, uh, let's use a different one. Let's say you use this one. There's very limited options here. Maybe you want to change the date, whatever, and then you can go in and click in Open Adobe, and that would open in Adobe Express to show
Mm.
you the full structure. So that's the Adobe design from template skill. I want to go back to my images and see what happened here. Let's scroll back down. Okay, it's still working on it. There's like 10 images, so it's going to take a second. But I do want to see, I did actually make a few photos here, but I can't find them. Okay, we'll just have to wait in this case. Let's wait for it to do its thing. Okay, yeah, it's doing its thing now.
Right.
So it did straighten all the photos. That's why we thought it was slightly different, but it was
Ah,
straightening the
okay.
photos. That's what happened. Yeah. So now auto tone is being applied, and then I think the tweaks will be applied so it looks more moody and cinematic, and then the grain would be applied at the end. And since there's no crop, we don't need to crop any of this. So it's still generating, and it's going to be a couple of minutes, but that then at the end of it, it takes you to a Firefly board, which is really cool. Meanwhile, while it's doing that, I'm gonna actually go to Firefly just to see if I have my old board that it generated for me yesterday, which it does. So
Oh, cool.
here we go. Once it does make all the changes, it would look something like this. There's a mosaic grid here of all the images it edited. So I have all these images right over here. So it would create a new Firefly board for me right
Mm.
within Claude, give me a link for it, and then I go in here, and these are all the images that are, all of them have the same cohesive look and feel, whether it's inside the studio or outside, and they all look like same part of the same shoot, same day.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
so cool.
interesting, isn't it? You could see like it becoming really valuable with brands, particularly if you kind of had to use stock or AI to generate a lot of your imagery,
Yes.
but then
Yes.
you had a lot of collateral and you're like, hey, can you just make it look like this was kind of shot around the same color and tone and vibe and, camera lens and stuff. Cause you can really tell the difference with that sort of
Yep.
stuff. The only one
Yep.
that stands
And
out is probably
that's,
the really blue one all the way to the right, just because the background
yes. Yes.
probably
And I probably
didn't
wouldn't
look too
even
good.
use that because I already have this one
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
field.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't. I actually did make this version because I wanted to remove background for that. And it was
Right.
just easier for me in that case. Or I actually wanted to see how that would look if I created a gradient background. And this is also like created in Firefly. So I was like, oh, maybe I should try to see what happens if I try to create a gradient background. But all of these images were actually created within Firefly. Maybe we can do a stream one of these days on how to create your brand photo shoot if you're willing to do so in Firefly boards.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to click allow once. But once you do all of this, it would give a link to open Firefly boards, and this is what it would look like. So to reiterate, I actually want to go back to my skills page here just to show what all you can do. So you can batch edit photos within Claude using Adobe for creativity integration. You can create social variations. You can design for template, which you also saw. You can quick cut. I think this is videos, but let's
That's a
go back in
video.
here and check.
Yeah.
Yes, create a punchy sizzle reel using Adobe Quick Cut. So it's basically creating a highlight reel like you would manually. Instead of doing that, you could upload a video and say, make a sizzle reel out of this. I actually want to implement this. So maybe we'll do that another time and show you what that output look like. And then resize photos and videos, which is super easy. You tell them what size you want, use the skill to do that, and then retouch portraits. I guess we're kind of doing batch edit photos and retouch portraits. um
Kind of at
I
once. Yeah.
think, yeah, it's kind of at once. Yes. So yeah, that's what we learned today. It's still asking me to make all these permissions. Oh my god, these permissions.
So it's asking permissions for every step, isn't it? Rather than just
Yes.
to kind of apply the top one, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Um, because like every slight kind of change. So rather than say, "Hey, I'm going to make all the
Yeah.
changes you said," it's asking for every step for each photo. Yeah.
Because I selected always ask and I only give it permission for allow once. So every image it applies the preset to, it would ask me those things 10 times. For the previous steps, I just said allow, always allow. So it didn't ask me those 10 times. But for this one, just to demo, I did allow once and it would only apply that preset. But yeah, this is going to probably take a few minutes here. But at the end, this is what that looks like. So we covered a lot. It was a lot of integration from ChatGPT, designing from a template, and then going into Express to edit that, where we could also do a bunch of things. We could fill text, we could animate it within ChatGPT, we could replace an image, and also change background color. All of the other changes that you would like to do, you can do that within a free or a premium Adobe Express account. Whether it's a enterprise or an individual account, doesn't matter. You can still use all of those features. And then we also looked at how you can integrate Adobe for Creativity in Claude and use the connectors and skills. So we looked at a couple of skills, but there will be links in the stream description as well. So I would highly recommend you to go and explore. And if you're not using Claude, use Claude
Yeah.
and use
Are you
Adobe
talking
for
to me
Creativity in Claude.
specifically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You told me you're my target audience. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
for you and all of our friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely you can see the change coming, and whether it's Claude or even another app in the future, like the integration world is definitely there, and navigating it now is a really good time. So yes, take Anika's advice, me and audience, and definitely have a play around with it and kind of try to wrap your head around what's happening in the background. Because as these things continue to evolve, it's always good to be on the ground floor and understand how kind of the nuts and bolts work as it kind of gets built on and that assumed knowledge slowly kind of dips into the background. So yeah, Anika, thank you so much for taking us through that. Definitely some homework for me to go and check out, and hopefully some of our viewers as well. So thanks everybody for watching, and thank you, Anika, once again for joining us on Adobe Live Asia Pacific.
Thank you so much, Flynn, for having me, and we'll see you another time.